Alright, in this video we are going to look at how you can change the color of your hair and kind of add some highlights to it and some things to make it look natural as well. So if we look here, here's the kind of before on my hair. The after would be first here is kind of where I change the color. And then these layers are where I added some like white kind of highlight strands in there to make it look more natural. So that's kind of what we're going to do with this project. Now I need a lot more of these strands in my hair. It still doesn't look real natural yet, but I kind of did it enough on the eyebrows. You can kind of see it in there, sort of the finished project, what it would look like. So let's get started on this. What we're going to do first is we are going to create a new adjustment layer. This is going to give us this base color for our hair. So the way that we're going to do that is in your layers window, you're going to want to click this button here, this new fill or adjustment layer. And the one we are going to want is hue saturation. So you notice this comes with a mask. Mask is totally white right now, so any changes we make at the moment to this layer are going to affect kind of the entire image. So that's fine for now. We're going to look at the hair. We're going to ignore the rest of the picture for right now, knowing that eventually we're going to correct this mask and make it so it only affects the hair. So where we will begin is we need our adjustment window. Now if you don't see it on yours, you can just go to Window, Adjustments. Chances are though when you created this layer, somewhere on your screen this thing popped up. Again, if you don't see it, Window, Adjustments. So what I want to do is I am adjusting the hue and saturation of this photo. Saturation is kind of how much of whatever color you have. So in this case I have this lighter brown color hair. As I crank down the saturation, it becomes more and more gray for me. There is no magic bullet that I could tell you kind of certain numbers to pick here. It all depends on your hair. Everybody's a little bit different here. So that's starting to look a little bit more gray. Obviously though I'm losing a lot of the detail of the hair. One of the things that we can do to fix this is I could try different blending modes. If you remember, that's where we change this from normal to a different setting. And what this does for me is this allows me to see through some of the color so that I can see what's behind it. In this case, that'll bring back some of the details. And again, everybody's going to be a little different here, but all I'm looking at is the hair, and lighten and screen looked like they did pretty well for me. So I'm going to stick with that one for now. Again, you may have to try a bunch of different ones until you figure out what works for your picture. But I'm going to stick with that one for now. Alright, so again, kind of looks very fake here. It's very gray. That's okay. What I want to do now is I want to make it so that this mask is not applying these changes to the whole image. In fact, right now I just don't want it to apply to anything. So I'm going to have that mask selected and I'm going to press Command and I. That will invert that mask. Now I can take my paintbrush and I'm going to just pick a normal brush here. And as I paint white in, these changes will start to show. I want to be real careful around my skin line. Maybe I drop the opacity or I use a tablet so that I can reduce this effect as I get towards the edge so that it doesn't look like this. I don't want it to look like I'm painting onto my skin at all, because now you see a distinct edge where this kind of ends. So again, it's important just to carefully work around the edges. If anything, you're better off leaving a little bit of your hair or the original color on the edges as opposed to coloring in any of your skin. So eventually as you do this and you keep messing with the mask, you'll end up with a result that looks something like this. Don't forget to go over your eyebrows, and if you have any kind of facial hair, you're going to want to run over that too. So that'll get you the base color. The next thing you're going to want to do is apply the brush to get some kind of highlights to this thing, to bring some strands back into your hair so it doesn't just look like a blob of color. So the way that you're going to do this is in Google Classroom, I have available to you the brush that you're going to use for this. You're going to end up probably modifying that brush a little bit, but this will get you going. So what you would want to do is go into Google Classroom, click on the brush, it'll download it. Most likely it'll show up at the bottom of your Google Chrome, and then you can drag it from there to your desktop just so you know where this thing is located. Once you have it on your desktop, the next thing you need to do is install it. The way that you would do that is you would hit, if you don't see your brushes, hit F5. That will pull up your brush window. From here, you can press Brush Presets. That'll take you to this window. This is really where we're going to install this brush from. So what we have to do is we have to go to the little menu on Brush Presets. So again, if you don't see that, I could go Window, Brush Presets, that'll get me there as well. And I'm clicking this little part right here, and I'm going to pick Load Brushes. I'm going to find that brush, most likely on my desktop, depending on where you put it, and it is called Hair Highlight in this case. I would open that up, and it doesn't look like we did anything, but we just installed that brush on our computer here. So here it is right here on mine. What this brush is going to do, let's look at some of the settings for this brush. It's automatically set up so that it goes in the direction we go, meaning that if I move my mouse side to side as I use this brush, the hair will go side to side. If I go up and down, it's going to go up and down too. Other things that we did here, it's scattered, meaning that as I paint with this, if this was down like this, it would all be one strand. As I spread this, we're going to get different strands. So as you use this, if it looks too spread or not spread enough, scattering is the one that you want to mess with. Other things we did, color dynamics. I made it so that the brightness changes as we go. We're going to pick white, but because I have this brightness jitter on here, you're going to get some shades of gray mixed in there to make it look natural, because white hair isn't all white. You're going to have all kinds of different colors in there. And lastly, transfer is set to pen pressure, so the harder I press if I'm using a tablet, the more of this will show. The lighter I press, the less of this will show. So these are kind of all set up for you ahead of time. But again, feel free to come in here and kind of mess with these if it doesn't match your particular hair. So what I need to do now that I have that brush loaded, I'm going to create a brand new layer. It's on top of everything else. My color is set to white. I'm on my brush tool. I have this new brush selected. If I don't, I could go to the drop down menu. Like I said, it's going to be at the end here. And I'm going to zoom in a bit here so that you and I can both see what I'm doing. And now my hair goes up and down because I have the shorter hair here, and I'm just going to start kind of dropping in some of these strands. And you can see the goal here is to kind of build it on top of itself. And the more I do this, kind of the more natural look. I can go up a little bit higher than my real hair because it's going to look like individual strands of hair if I do that, and that's okay. And as I do this, you can kind of see what's happening now. It's sort of filling in, and if I look at this from further away, it looks much more natural than it used to. Again, other spots I'd want to hit for sure would be like my eyebrows. And again, the key here is variety. You don't want everything going in the same direction, especially like eyebrows. They tend to be bushier, especially for old men. You can do something like that. Alright, and again, if I don't like that, if it's too much, I can always come back with my eraser and erase something, because all it's going to erase is this one layer here. Alright, another thing we can do is, let's put a little ear hair in here. And you see what's happening here. It's going onto my face as well. So again, I can use the eraser to kind of clean up that edge. Same thing with the nose hair here. So when I'm doing this ear and nose hair, I may want to turn down the scattering a little bit. If we look at like my ear, see how spread out that hair is, and that looks okay. Maybe on the nose though, that's going to be too much. Let's try it and see here. So let's put a little bit in here. And again, you see it's almost like spread out too much. So I'm going to turn down the scattering so that I get a little bit less of this. And I'm also going to turn down the count a little bit. So again, you can see what's changing down here as I'm doing this, because I just want a few little hairs coming out of here different directions. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and then I'm going to clean this up. Alright, so now I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Again, I'm going to use the eraser. Obviously, I can't have any up here on top of my nose. And if I want, I could even reduce the size of this, and then maybe I'll drop the opacity a little bit on this and run over some of these hairs as well. Now again, you don't necessarily have to do this if you're using the tablet, because you may have already taken care of this by not pressing so hard when you made this. So anyway, there you go. Now I have some nostril hair as well. So again, those little details go a long way when this is all said and done. But the main thing is just running over your hair a bunch with this brush so that it kind of looks natural, looks real. The more you run over top of it. You could also shift colors to like gray if you're not getting enough variety in there. And I can run over top now with this brush and mix a little bit of that gray in there, and again I can just kind of keep changing colors, and the more I run over, the more natural this will look. So that is pretty much how you color in the hair. When you're all done, it'll look something along these lines here. Again, mine is kind of a little too sparse though. I need to fill that in with some more pieces.